Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December meeting of the Teaching and Learning Committee. And we have we just got a room full of wonderful people going to share some wonderful things with us, and that just makes our day. Has the meeting been posted, Stacy?
Yes, it has.
Okay. Are there any citizens in the audience that would like to speak with us? Love to hear from you. Okay. Pardon me? There's a speaker, right. We have minutes. Could we please have a motion to approve the minutes from the November 1st meeting?
So moved.
So moved. Ari, is there a second? Second by Karen. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from our November meeting. We're going to start off tonight with a what? Oh, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Big deal. All right, we have a wonderful program tonight. It's called Playworks, and we can hardly wait to see what you've got to share with us. So do you want to take us into that, Jody?
Sure, and I'll actually have the Works team come up along with our students. I think Melissa Yao will do some introductions, as well as Mr. Bush, or the kids are running it. All right, you got this. Take it away.
All right, well, I'm excited tonight to bring Hatfield Elementary, one of our Playworks school here in the school district of Waukesha, to kind of share their journey. So this is our Bright Lights time, and they sure are a bright light. So I want to give you a little bit of background about what Playworks is. The goal for Playworks is to make recess safe, fun, and inclusive for all. And so last year, there were 4 schools that teamed up with Playworks, and that's Bethesda, and we have Stella Miranda here supporting from Bethesda as well as Hatfield, and the Hatfield team here, Blair and Hawthorne as well. So one of the best things about Playworks is learning about the leadership that students have, and so we have 4 junior coaches here with us tonight, Ellie, Connor, Ben, and Elizabeth, and you'll be hearing from all of them, as well as some other critical key players from Hatfield. Shelley Doby, our social worker. We have Rachel Sharp, our ESL teacher, who is also the recess manager. And then we have famous Coach Jenna from Playworks, who is the site coordinator for all 4 of our schools from Playworks. So we're going to hopefully teach you a little bit more about Playworks, and then you'll hear from the kids.
Great. Welcome. We're anxious to have you entertain us.
Thank you. We are happy to do so. I'm going to start off. My name is Jenna, as Melissa said, and I'm the site coordinator. I work at all 4 schools that Playworks is currently in Waukesha. I'm going to start off by telling you some of the positive trends that we're seeing throughout all 4 schools. So the first and foremost, the most important thing is that we're seeing more positive play. Kids are really benefiting from the games. They all know the rules, and due to that, we're seeing a lot less conflict.
Absolutely.
So referrals, majors and minors, are really, really, really on the decrease, which is awesome to see and to hear from all the schools. Also, students are feeling really empowered. They come out to recess and they know exactly what to expect. They jump into games and they start running and facilitating them themselves for the entire recess period, which is just really amazing to see from kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade. And then I couldn't be successful. Playworks couldn't be successful without our principals. So the principals that I'm currently working with at the 4 schools Melissa mentioned, they're all amazing. They're super supportive of the program, and I have to hand it to them and give them a lot of credit for their support and the success of the program in the schools.
Why don't you share their names with us so that they can get some credit?
Sure. At Bethesda, we have Stella Miranda, who is in the back, and a recess coach. We have a recess coach in the house, woohoo, Mrs. Escobedo. And also from Bethesda, we also have Al Bush from Hatfield. And at Hawthorne, we have Yui Wynn. And then at Blair, we have Ida Cruz-Farron.
Yep.
Yep.
Ida.
So they are the 4 principals that are super on board and just really, really supportive.
Well, I just want them to know how much I appreciate their leadership in this regard.
Absolutely. And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of positive trends is class game time. That's when one class comes out to the playground and they learn games with me. And those games are going to be featured out at recess. They're totally an option, but it gives kids more options of what to play outside. And with that, during the game times, we teach social and emotional skills. That's the forefront of what we're doing, right? And we do that through play. And those social and emotional skills can be respecting the outcome. How do we do that? Teaching conflict resolution. Also using positive language, just giving a high five and saying good job or nice try when someone makes a mistake. And the students are taking all those skills and they're showing them at recess and they're using them in the classroom. And I've heard stories from parents where they're using them at home, which is so awesome to hear. So those are some of the positive things that we're seeing throughout all 4 schools that have Playworks. And now I'm going to pass it off to Shelley Dolby, who's going to talk a little bit more about the social and emotional aspect of Playworks and specifically conflict resolution.
Yeah, the platform of Playworks has been really nice, and it's really organized a way for the kids to be able to socialize and to have leadership times, and also to be able to build in the choices of go to another game, because there are more than one game option at a time. They also practice conflict resolution, and the conflict resolution, if you guys ever remember rock, paper, scissors, they call that Rochambeau. I knew it as rock, paper, scissors. But with that, anytime there's a, you're safe, you're out at a kickball field or any kind of conflict whatsoever, all kids stop and they actually remind each other. So it's really clever, and it's really great that there's this program that can really provide the language in order for the kids to really feel successful and feel empowered.
So, as Melissa introduced me, I'm Rachel Sharp, and I'm the recess manager over at Hadfield. So that gives me the opportunity to work with both the junior coaches in the leadership program, but also to be out at recess every day to see Playworks in action. And the benefits I've seen at Hadfield are really twofold. From the student perspective, they have the ultimate choice and freedom in picking their activity that they want to play. So they're able to choose from multiple different structured games, and they understand the rules, and they're able to join freely whenever they want. So if they want to switch during recess, that's a possibility. That also helps with that conflict resolution piece. Also, it's all about ultimate inclusion. So the motto of Playworks is to be safe, fun, and fair. And by knowing that everybody's included, there's no picking teams or asking if they want to join. They can join at any point in time. So I've really seen that benefit the student body out at recess. The other aspect is our leadership opportunities. We have 15 junior coaches currently in training, and they receive monthly mini lessons on different leadership skills, how to be assertive, how to manage conflicts. And when those students come out to recess, they are in charge of running a game. And then as they're facilitating that game, they're also promoting that positive language and conflict resolution skills. And the kid empowerment is amazing. Kids listen so much better to other kids than they do to teachers. So it's really about empowering them. And we've had so many leadership opportunities at Hadfield that we actually had to expand our program. And now we have other crews. So we currently have 20 kids doing other crews. We have kids that come down and do morning announcements. They love to hear themselves on the loudspeaker, developing those speaking leadership skills. And then we have setup and cleanup crews that are taking responsibility for organizing the games. And then we have cheer crew, which you'll learn a little bit about later. And they're in charge of leading 2 to 3 grade levels in a cheer to help them quiet down and then transition into the building. So I've just been fortunate to see those daily opportunities through Playworks. That is just an amazing program. So now I'm going to pass it off for the stars of the show.
Not us, but we're going to introduce the stars of the show. Thank you for having us. My name is PJ Dever. I'm the program director for Playworks in Wisconsin. And
I'm Maddie Wilson. I'm a program manager for Playworks Wisconsin, and I manage the Waukesha pod.
So we work daily with amazing young leaders, and they are our junior coaches, which is represented right here with our folks in our purple shirts. You'll see kids in purple shirts at all 4 of our schools leading play on the playground. But I'd like to take a moment for them to introduce themselves. I would like to know your name, what grade you're in, and what your favorite playground game is. Ellie, do you want to start?
My name is Ellie, and I'm in 5th grade. I'm a junior coach, and my favorite game has to be kickball because all the kids work together, and it's just so much fun to play and have everybody actually try to play as hard as they can, and people try to encourage me and other people as well.
Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite game on the playground is tag, any type of tag, because it's fun to see the kids run around and interact with each other.
My name is Connor, and I am in 5th grade, and my favorite recess game is soccer because I've been playing it since I was 3 years old.
Wow.
My name is Ben. I'm in 5th grade. I'm a junior coach at Hatfield. My favorite game has to be Everybody's It Tag because when in Everybody's It Tag, you're everybody's it. And when you tag somebody, they have to sit down, but once you get tagged, they get to stand up. So that's fun for all the kids that I play with and me because everybody's nonstop still playing.
All right, thank you for sharing. So I have a couple questions for each junior coach, and I think we're going to start with Elizabeth, if you're ready. So my question to you is, if you had to describe junior coach to somebody that's never heard of it before, what would you say?
Okay. I'd say junior coach is not like a burden or a responsibility. You do need to be responsible to get on time to your shift and to make sure there's no conflicts on the playground and that you're on time to the meetings.
Great.
Yeah.
Anybody else on our team? Anything else about being a junior coach?
Junior coach is where you help people and it shows that you can be a good leader and it treats you. Junior coach shifts are having a responsibility and other kids are starting to trust you more.
Great. And when you're working on your shift, what are you doing? Who are you working with and what are you doing with them? Anybody?
You're working with your certain grade level because at Hadfield, we have 2 grades out at recess. Like I shift 2nd and 3rd grade. I normally work with them and every single day I play a new game. Like one day I'll play kickball, the next day I'll play tag or basketball.
Thank you. Maddie, do you have a question?
Yes. This is a question for Ben. What are some skills that you've learned in junior coach with Coach Jenna that you use when you're working with younger students on the playground?
A skill that I use is being assertive because when you're assertive, the kids start to really trust you more. And I like to use it on the playground because I don't like to yell at kids, like
teachers.
because I don't want to hurt their feelings and I don't like to hurt their feelings because then like they would look sad and I don't like little kids being sad.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Next up, I think we have Ellie. So can you think of a problem that came up while you were at recess that you helped solve?
Okay, a problem that I came up at recess was some kids in 2nd and 3rd grade were fighting over who goes first in kickball. How I used this was I had this kid go first, and they had a Rochambeau, and whoever won got to go first or second, they get to choose. And then the next time that someone goes, they can be first, or if they want, they can be second.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And Maddie, do you have a question for last junior coach?
For Connor, what is the most challenging about being a junior coach and what is the most fun?
The most challenging is probably where like you have to like get to your shift on time because you might forget like when to go, or you might like be reading a book and you might not be paying attention to time. And my favorite part about being a junior coach is helping people out and like you're not being rude to them, you're being helpful.
Thank you for sharing. So now that they've shared a little bit about being junior coach, it would be great if we could show you a little bit of what it's like to be a junior coach, and you could all have an opportunity of what it's like to be a kid on a Playworks playground, possibly at the end of recess. So at Playworks, we believe in the power of collectively doing something energizing together. We do that through games, songs, and definitely through cheers. So we've asked our junior coaches to bring one of their favorite cheers to our meeting today to share it with all of you here. And I hope that our folks in the front and the back of the room will be willing to join us. So if you are ready for a great cheer, please stand up and high five the person to your left and your right. All right, JCs. So I think, Ellie, you're going to start us off with this cheer. So it's, well, I'll let you do it.
This is a cheer called, a milkshake. This is where we're going to do some motions, and this is about kind of a foodie cheer. And this is a cheer that some of the kids love to do at recess because they like to do the motions or they like to just think of their favorite food, and we normally say it. Yeah.
Great. All right, would you like to start us?
Sure. Oh, a milkshake.
Oh, a milkshake.
A sticky, sticky waffle.
A sticky, sticky waffle.
A mozzarella pizza.
A mozzarella pizza.
All of the eggs are broken.
All of the eggs are broken.
That was really nothing.
That was really nothing.
Because we can do it louder.
'Cause we can do it louder.
Oh, a milkshake.
Oh, a milkshake.
A sticky, sticky waffle.
Sticky, sticky waffle.
A mozzarella pizza.
A mozzarella pizza.
All of the eggs are broken.
All of the eggs are broken.
That was really nothing.
That was really nothing.
Because we can do it quieter. Oh, a milkshake.
Oh, a milkshake.
Sticky, sticky waffle.
Sticky, sticky waffle.
A mozzarella pizza.
A mozzarella pizza.
All of the eggs are broken.
All of the eggs are broken. All right, let's give a round of applause. All right, before you sit, I'd like to teach you one more Playworks element, and that is appreciating other people in a very special way. So I'm going to teach you something called a whoosh clap. Our junior coaches just gave us tons of positive energy and brought it into this room and gave it to us. So I'd like to give it back to them in a very special way. So on the count of three, I'll count 1, 2, 3. I'd like you to clap, ball up your positive energy, and then whoosh it at our junior coaches, and they're going to receive it however they do. When I receive it, I get electrocuted. I don't know what's going to happen to them. All right, remember, it's 1, 2, 3, we clap, and then we whoosh. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Whoosh. Whoa, electrocution, fell back. Great. Thank you very much, junior coaches.
And thank you very much. We'll be giving you each a packet so that you can learn some more about Playworks and this wonderful opportunity. We also invite you any day of the week to come out and join any of the 4 schools out on the playground. You will be so excited. You'll learn some new skills to help you problem solve in life, play some new games as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just what young children need is to play. And those of you who know me know that play is my middle name and that I talk about play whenever I can, wherever I can, promote play as much as I can. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, so play was just part of my program. So I wish we could have play time like we should every day, special time. This is wonderful, wonderful. Keep going. Wow. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. That was great. Okay, moving forward. Oh, that was great.
I know.
You know how important that is.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. All right, next we have a middle school scheduling update.
All
Do you
right.
want to introduce that?
So I'm going to give a power clap to our 3 middle school principals, and I'm going to whoosh them to have the power. We have, so just to give you a little bit of context, these 3 middle school principals, Rob Bennett at Les Paul, Bob Blessington at Horning, and Jason Sadowski at Butler, are here to give an update on the middle school schedule, upon which was approved last year. So the request from the board was, please come back and give us an update. And so this is your update that they'll present to you this evening.
Great. Thank you. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I think there's a slide deck that's going to come up.
Oh, I've heard you.
So Jason will get that set up. So our purpose today is really just to bring back to the board some new members and some new faces to inform the teaching and learning team of some of the changes that did occur in our middle school schedule. Prior to this year, we had been on different schedules, different time allotments on the clock of when classes started, when classes ended, and trying to bring some systematic approach to the middle school schedule. So the first slide on there is just talking about that, but for our purpose, the second step for tonight is to really give you the goals of our schedule change. And one was to provide some student choice, developing skill in students, be it the performance skills or other skills that we are working on throughout the middle level. Sustainability to ensure that courses that kids are interested in and wanted to be a part of, that we could continue those experiences for them. Increasing the instructional rigor up until the point the students were going through six-week segments, and depending on calendar, sometimes it was difficult to really give them the rigor that they were asking for, and that teachers were ready to provide. And then also to build on student experiences, to make it a much more meaningful experience, not just getting their feet wet just very briefly in an experience. This was an opportunity to bring more depth to their knowledge instead of just really skimming the surface, trying to give them a better experience so that as they moved on, they could make some better choices in their scheduling and selection.
So some of the key changes that we made, we went from a 6-week elective exploratory to a 9-week elective experience in grade 6. Previously, we had grade 6 and 7 doing that. Now we just have grade 6. Next year, it'll be grade 6 and then half of grade 7 because of some students. We had 6 electives, so in a 9-week course, they can only take 4. They're going to finish the last 2 in 7th grade, with the option of electing out of it to go into a course electives with other 7th and 8th graders. Like Rob mentioned before, this was key for the common bell schedule. So all 3 grade levels have the same bell schedule. So if there's an opportunity for a 6th grader to move up to 7th grade to take an accelerated course, they can do that. Previously, if they, in order for them to do that, they would have to have a study hall and miss some other opportunities, and it was not conducive because there's a lot of crossover with the courses. And then all three comprehensive middle schools are all on the same schedule as well. Like Rob mentioned, also the electives are what we previously called as the wheel, we are calling now the elective experience. The wheel was more of an exploratory to just kind of dip their toe in. Now we're asking them to put their whole foot in and trying to even get their knee into that water. And the whole idea is for them to really experience what this elective is rather than just getting a little taste of it. We want them to fill their mouth up with what this elective all has to offer. And then with the option for 7th graders to start having choice in the electives. And we're expanding. What's exciting about that is this also opened up the opportunities to explore other options for our electives. So some of the departments are in conversation, and I believe business is one that's really taken the front at really expanding first of changing their options to things that are interesting to kids. And not just offering the same thing we've always offered. And other departments are starting to follow as well. And then finally, and this one is, we're all very excited about, is the multi-age possibilities. And I kind of mentioned one of the pieces about a 6th grader being able to go into accelerated class. This allows us to really explore that and not hone in on a kid just because of their specific age or grade level. Now it's more based on skill sets. And it can work either way. So we're just dabbling with that and going in small facets, but it's really focused on what do the kids need and where can we, our structures are put in place so we have these options for kids. Some of the concerns, or one of the main concerns that was addressed from the board when we brought this up was maintaining staffing. We were able to maintain staffing, and no additional cost was endured with this. So there was no layoffs. There was no, the reductions were natural reductions that occurred due to enrollment in the whole schools, or natural just because of what was going on, but nobody was laid off or anything like that. One of the other changes was human growth and development moved from family and consumer ed to Phi Ed, which I believe was a case 5 years ago. It's traditionally always been in Phi Ed up until when we incorporate the wheel. And then one thing that came back was we did now science and social studies in 6th and 7th grade have returned back to a full year long, where they were previously a semester long course.
All right, I'm making up, I get one slide since I'm the new guy, so which is okay. Some considerations for the future as we look at, Rob and Jason both previewed some things that are taking place this year, but really an opportunity to have increased interdisciplinary collaboration across mid-level district-wide. So I think just the collaboration piece has really been a built-in, opportunity right now, just being on the same schedule. Some things to think about for the future, expanded multi-age opportunities. We each have for example, personalized learning programs in our school that are multi-age. So those are things that, we're continuing to have conversations on making sure we're providing the best possible experience for student. And then, I think elective opportunities are something to expand or look at as needs and interests change of the community and of students. So lots for us to think about, lots for us to continue to talk about while we're living in the moment right now of our schedule. So.
Are there any questions?
Couple questions or comments. One is I compliment you on making these slides legible to the rest of us. So the nice typing and printing so we can read them. It's not always the case. Two other things. One is I'm a little bit confused on the, you're using 9 weeks, and in 6th grade they'll go for 4 different classes. It basically fills out the whole year, right? And then you're saying they'll get 2 more shots than the next semester or the next year? Will that continue for all of them?
Correct. So previously there were 6 electives. There was Spanish, French, art, tech ed, business, and family consumer ed.
Okay.
So they would take, 6th grade they would take, let's say, Spanish, art, tech ed, and business.
Okay.
So then their 7th grade, they'd finish the last 2 and take the French and family consumer ed.
Okay. And then what do they do with the rest of the year?
So then that would be, 7th grade, that would be, are you saying for 6th grade or 7th grade?
7th grade.
7th grade, the second semester, they would choose their elective.
Oh, it's open for electives. Then.
Correct.
Okay. And actually, I think that probably answers the rest of the question. So they would have basically the same 6 elements that we've had in the past, but we're going to make them more intense, or
Yes.
to meet your rigor thing.
Yes.
And get their interest level up. And maybe that is another question. Okay, you've been at this for not quite a year, I know that, but what's your overall take on this? Is it working well? Are the kids with it? I know it's pretty early to ask that question,
Yeah.
but I mean, what's the first shot?
We've got right now at Butler, I can say that is the number one, the teachers have said, I've got to know our students better. The students have also mentioned some of them don't know the difference, so it's hard to say, but I think some of this has to do, that has shown in some of our behavior results too, because we're not seeing the behavior results in electives when they've gone through with the change. Because the staff have been with them longer, get to know them, making adjustments longer, and so forth. So that's kind of a key component. But I think, but our goal is to then survey the students. Actually, in the next, I got to look at it. I believe it's shortly coming up. Shortly, we're surveying them to match the survey that we did prior to doing this schedule.
Okay. And back to my weeks thing again. the current seventh graders did all 6 of the pieces of the wheel this past year. What are they doing this year?
Yeah. So the kids, the current seventh graders, we had to build in that transition time because
Okay.
of that one group that it was already been through all 6 components. The seventh grade currently this year is going through elective experience, so they're choosing their electives for both semesters.
So they get extra shots at electives, but they can pick the ones that are more interesting to them.
Yep. So we were trying to be forward thinking, knowing that there had to be a transition time for the group that already accomplished all 6 pieces, rather than bringing them back for 2 pieces. And so far, it's worked pretty well. And being able to balance things and have kids make the choices that they really wanted to choose has gone very well.
I'm wondering, where does the science and social studies fit in? You've got option 1, option 2. That's not their complete curriculum, is it?
Science and social studies up until this year had been a duration of a semester, and depending on building, it may have been a semester, it may have been over the course of the year, but every other day or based on a thematic unit. So it was 90 days. The social studies and science piece is just in our schedule this year. They are able to have that in grade 6 and grade 7 for a year long in both grades.
Okay.
So it's not an elective for them, it is one of their
Right.
core requirements.
And what will happen next year?
That will continue.
Because does it,
So that will be considered one of our cores with reading and writing workshop, math, science, and then social studies that make up that 5 core component.
okay, I guess I'm a little confused. This option 1 and option 2, that's student choice, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then what everybody has to take is math, science, social studies. Okay,
You're seeing the options on the
Yes.
handout? Yeah,
Yes.
those are just for the elective pieces.
Okay,
The core areas will maintain 6th and 7th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are all year long
so they're math, science, social studies?
in literacy. Now, currently literacy in 6th and 7th grade are two periods. In 8th grade, it goes to just 1 period.
And math, science, social studies, literacy, is that every day?
Every day, correct.
Every day, so that takes up 4 periods.
6th and 7th grade, it's 5 periods because literacy's 2 periods.
And how many periods in a day?
7.
How many?
I had to think about that. 7.
So there really isn't a lot of room for a lot of extra stuff.
No.
I would think that the students will need guidance, from staff when they put together these curriculum so that they get as much as possible that they need and want.
And that's been a work in progress with all the guidance departments at the middle levels, having conversations to make sure communication is clear, communication is consistent across all the schools to make sure there's no questions left unanswered.
Mrs. Berzink, like you just mentioned,
Yes.
that is the purpose why we went this route.
Sure.
Is because what we found is now if you take those electives out of 7th grade and they were required to take the
Yes.
wheel again,
Yes.
now you were just limited to just 8th grade where they were getting those electives. So that's why if you go back, now that's why our goal was to open it up and give more choice for students. And so that's the direction that we're really focused on right now.
Okay. Well, I think I do like the middle message, world language, must take 1 course between 6th and 8th grade. That, I remember last year that was a very, very important issue, and it remains. You must take it, and that was very important to the board that we would make sure kids had some experience with world languages in middle school.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Karen?
Just one. When you guys have the 7th graders, I believe it's just this year, having those selections, are they with the 6th graders then? Is it 6th and 7th graders doing those electives, or are they separate?
For the elective experience, is that what you're talking about?
For the first semester.
That 9 weeks? Right now, I'm not going to say, we have to figure out how that's going to look in the schedule. That's one of our biggest concerns logistically, what that's going to look like.
And currently, our 7th graders who were in the true elective experience may be in with an 8th grade student, if based on their choice. Many courses were able to stay 7 or stay 8, but some have blended 7 and 8 very nicely, and it's just been a continuation of their blended multi-age piece, how they've done extracurriculars, how they've been in music selections and things like that.
And what has the feedback from the parents been?
We haven't had any.
There are the positive pieces where some students were able to the schedule adjustments have been easier if kids needed to be in one place or another. They weren't losing out on something, so that's been much easier to do and much more friendly for parents and families to not alter the whole schedule based on one course. It's much easier to make some switches along that way. Maybe the complaint is they have choice, and now you have to make tough decisions. We'll actually take that as a compliment.
Do you think it's important that you somehow communicate with parents what you're going to do next year? Because all parents don't understand, what we are doing with scheduling in middle school or high school. They think, oh, they take this just like they did, and it's not that way anymore. So how do you communicate that, if at all?
There's some pretty strict scheduling guidelines and timelines, and thank you to Joe for actually helping set some of those guidelines.
Okay.
And then those communications come out from elementary when they transition to middle
Okay.
school to high school, the open house process at the high school.
Okay.
The middle school course request guidelines and documents that come out with those. Those informations are made available. We have parent meetings, learning plan meetings with families, so families can come in with their child and have conversations with guidance counselors, and those questions can be answered.
I would think that it would be important for parents to be, maybe I'm not correct, but for parents to be involved, especially when they go from 5th to 6th grade, in choosing their courses for 6th grade, because that's a big deal.
Parents.
How do you do that?
All parents are involved in the process in the fact of they have to sign off on the final.
Okay.
They have to finalize the request form.
Okay.
All these forms are on a handwritten. We're still doing handwritten forms, and on the bottom of the form is a parent signature that they need, that is required to finish this process. So as Rob was saying, is all those pieces are given, but when the students are handed, say like 5th graders are handed the packet at elementary, the counselors go in, explain the whole process with the students. In that packet that they're given are instructions for the parents on. It'll be like a cover letter saying about what it's going to look like for this upcoming year, the course request form, and then all the courses and their descriptions.
Do you have all the course selections in a booklet, or is it all online?
Yes, both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a booklet, just a stapled packet.
Years ago, we used to get a copy. It was like a newspaper of all the courses that middle school took and all the courses that high school took. I think it'd be, for me anyway, I'd like to see all the coursework that's available in middle school. So if you could share that with us.
Yep.
Pardon me? That would be great. Thank you. I'd like to see, all the things, because I'm not sure everybody realizes the wonderful offerings that we have for our students. And I thank you again for making that world language possible. I know it was real difficult for you to do the scheduling, et cetera, but in the end, it really benefited our students. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Any other questions from?
Thank you.
Okay. Keep it going, guys. I'm sorry that I forgot to mention at the start of the meeting that Patrick McCaffrey is excused this evening. Okay, moving forward then, our next item is approval of middle school CTE course changes.
Yep, we're welcoming Amy Lang, CTE coordinator, and Dan Keyser, our secondary director. As the middle school principals forecasted, with the changes of the new schedule come some newer opportunities for our CTE and our elective areas. So they're going to give you some course proposals upon which we're asking for you to take action this evening.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
You're a regular.
This year I am, yes, and enjoying every moment of it.
That's great.
So with that middle school experience, again, we had the wheel classes in 6th and 7th grade, and previously electives only in the 8th grade. And now that electives are open to 7th graders, we found that we kind of reorganized and shuffled our curriculum around a little bit, but we didn't have enough course offerings. So if students were truly interested, and we're hoping through and kind of what you had mentioned before about how do students know, et cetera, and working with our academic and career planning through middle school and high school, that it allows students to find out more about themselves and how that translates into career preparation and what they can do in terms of taking classes in middle school and high school. So through that, if they have determined that they might want to experience different opportunities in middle school and high school with these careers, that we currently did not have enough offerings available. So there were only two semester courses available at 7th grade and 8th grade combined. And so what we're doing is introducing another new course in each of the 3 departments. So we'll start with the business and marketing department. And that one, the new one that they would like to propose is called Leadership and Service. At Horning Middle School, they have kind of done a pilot of this through some learning centers that they have, and kids have been very receptive. There was an article in the paper, in fact, this fall, about how students from that particular learning center put together some items for the local police department, for the Waukesha Police Department, and presented it to them, and they were in the paper for that. And so what it really is kind of determining leadership, but doing it through a service focus and service to the school and service to the community. And so looking at what types of leaders that there are, and then looking at themselves, looking interpersonally about themselves, looking at working with others and relationships with others and building those teamwork skills, and then the topic on mindfulness, and then their assessments are really going to be centered, everything that they're doing is going to be centered around some service type activity. So they would be assessed on the activities that they do either for the school or the community, which will be determined for the most part by the students, and they would get to pick those options and then show how they can be a leader in doing those types of activities. So that kind of in a nutshell is what's in that one. Would you like to ask questions on that, or have me go through all 3 and then ask questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
All 3? Okay.
What is your preference?
Okay.
Okay.
So Family and Consumer Science, their new proposal is called the Art and Science of Food. What we're trying to do there is bring in some of those other topics that have to do with the culinary and hospitality industry that don't just, that make it more than a class in which they're looking at cooking or nutrition, which again is part of the industry. But in this case, a big focus is going to be on food science and how that relates with science in general. We have a food science course at the high school that's running for the first time this year, even though it was approved a couple years ago. And so what we're trying to do is get more students who are interested in that and how that can relate to science, and bring those 2 topics together. In addition, with just kind of the current trends in foods, that would lead into our high school food trends and technology class, where they're looking at presentation of food, plating and garnishing, kind of piggybacking on all of those popular TV shows on the Food Network or the Travel Channel or whatever. But again, taking those and putting them into the context of a career and an industry, and focusing on really those things. And then years ago, we had a worldwide cuisine class, and we actually eliminated that to bring in the food science course. So this would bring back, again, kind of that cross-curricular, looking at culture and foods together. And so hopefully being able to do some of that work with the world languages classes. So that's what that course is about. And then our final one is technology mechanisms in our technology and engineering department. And for that class, they probably did a little bit more reshuffling. Some of this has been seen before, but they are based on Project Lead the Way for the most part, and it's called Gateway at the middle school level. And so as you look on that course outline, the measurement, design, layout, magic of electrons, science of technology, design and modeling, automation and robotics, those are all Project Lead the Way units. And so being an elective area, we don't want to have them in just one area. So some of those might be in another elective, but it allows us, by going this method with the way the electives are set up now, or the middle school experience, that kids can get a deeper learning of these Project Lead the Way units and better prepare them for high school if they're taking any engineering classes. And then we've also built in the materials and processes, which kind of goes along with our manufacturing focus that we have at the high school too. And so they get that experience in several different areas to better prepare them for future.
So these are electives for
Correct.
7th and 8th grade?
Correct.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Baumgart?
I don't know if it's a question so much as observation. I am really pleased with what you've laid out here. The technology and engineering and the business and marketing education, I wish I had had opportunities like that back in 7th and 8th grade myself. The other one I just eat anyway, so. But these are, because really my career has been made up of a lot of these two that I mentioned. And to have a head start on that in 7th and 8th grade rather than waiting until you're up in college is just phenomenal in my mind. So I really appreciate what you put together here. And I do think with what Jason and the group just explained to us previously, this is a very good fit. So that's just my observation.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Well, I would agree with Mr. Baumgart. I think it's just a wonderful addition. Some choices that will interest some students, but not all students, but at least the opportunity is there. So definitely their opportunities are being enhanced by this. So thank you for doing this. This is wonderful that we're going to expand course offerings for students. And this will begin?
Wait. This is an action item.
Yes, I know.
This would be for the coming fall, for fall of
For fall,
2017.
okay,
And so
okay.
this would go on their course selection guide.
Okay.
As they look at picking courses in end of January, early February.
Okay. All right. Well, could we have a motion then?
I'll move for the addition of these technology, engineering, business marketing, and family consumer science classes.
Okay. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Dietz. Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Okay. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Job well done. Next, we have approval of high school physical education course sequence and new courses.
Sure. So we bring back to the table Wendy Schwengel. Nice try, Paczynski. Sorry. Wendy and Dan will stay in oversight of the physical education course sequence. Just a reminder, you guys did look at the course sequence
Yes.
proposal last month as an information item. So we're asking you to take action tonight on both the two new courses distributed among the new course sequence as well as the course sequence.
Welcome.
Thank you. As Jerry said, we did the presentation last month to kind of set the stage, and so all we were really referring back to is the flow chart that you should have in your packets. And I'll let Wendy talk about our two brand new courses. Again, as a reminder, the PE 9 and PE 10 are still existing. We just reformatted how they look, and so what we're asking for tonight is approval on both the framework, the new framework, and then these two new courses that are being in development for the UBD.
Okay.
The two classes that we are looking at adding to the selection for high school students would be, oh, there we go, even better, would be an aquatics class and also a lifeguard training course. And those two UBDs would be in your packet along with the proposed kind of layout of the offerings that are going to be available. What we went through, and we've redone all the UBDs for the other courses, the PE 9, that would now be split into the personalized fitness focus and the field and court focus, along with taking the PE 10 and kind of dividing that again into the different focus areas. So these are the two courses that would be considered new to the, like truly new as opposed to repackaged for the offerings. The aquatics class would be open to any student in 10th grade. And all as far as a prerequisite, it would simply be completion of a PE 9 course. As you go through the UBD, it goes through, we've aligned it with the new national standards, so that would be in the second, I believe it's going to be the second page, and that kind of carries on through the document. The other class that we are looking to add is the lifeguard training course, which is actually kind of exciting because that does provide students an ability to get the Red Cross certification as a lifeguard, and therefore open up some options for them, summer jobs at pools, different areas like that. The course description on that is listed. This will be directly, if this gets approved, this goes directly through with the Red Cross. They have a curriculum and they have different testing and assessments that you must follow in order to get the certification as a lifeguard. So that will be pretty much right there for us as to how they lay it out. They do have a 15-year-old age criteria by the time of the final assessment, so a student could take the course at the beginning and still be 14 as long as they've turned 15 by the time they take the final assessment at the end of the semester. And that is, again, that is a Red Cross requirement. But we wanted to keep it open for sophomores because we have many sophomores who would meet that criteria. So we didn't want to close it off and just say only 11th grade. So we left it open just with that understanding that they have to be 15 by the final assessment. And again, that goes through and it's aligned with our national standards.
We'll open up for questions.
Yes.
Everything sounds very fine. I'm just a little confused on some of the expenses, although I think you may have helped me with one of them. Under your executive summary, you have approximately $1,000. Now, is that just to take the class? I mean, you're talking about $1,000
For a student? No.
No, it's for additional teachers.
Oh, the cost, we need to, right now we have one teacher in the district as a person who is certified to certify students. So we would ultimately like to get a teacher at each school to have that certification. That would eliminate the need for kind of interesting scheduling or one person traveling throughout the district, and that would really tighten like when you could offer it. So that would be to get those additional teachers certified to be lifeguard.
So it's not hiring additional teachers?
No.
It's just to certify 2 of our teachers?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we would be doing that in-house, which ultimately, again, brings the price down because we'd be able to offer the course then for the students for the cost of just the cost of the Red Cross. The Red Cross charges to give the certification. Sometimes if you go to a YMCA that may offer it, or some other community programs that offer it, you can be charged from $200 to $300 to get your lifeguard certification. But by having our people on site and on staff, we'd be able to offer it for just the Red Cross price.
Excellent. The other financial items deals with snorkeling gear.
For the aquatics class, we would be looking at, as a part of the aquatics class, having a portion of the class learning how to snorkel. And going from that, if we have our own equipment, then we also have the ability to, as this goes forward, look into bringing scuba in. That's another option that we're kind of working through. That would be kind of added as a part as we go on. But having our own equipment would allow that price to eventually be less as well. But that would be a part of the units that are offered within the aquatics class.
Thank you. You cleared it up for me. Thank you.
It would appear to me that you'd have to have some special equipment for the aquatics, right?
At this point, we're looking at the snorkeling gear,
Yeah,
and
right.
so if we were to add the scuba component, it would be a true add-on, and then students who wanted to take that, there would be an additional cost, but for
Right.
students who didn't want to do it, they would have another unit that would incorporate those.
Okay.
And we already do have some of the things. Some of the high schools have kayaks. So we already have some of the equipment. We just don't have the snorkeling gear.
You said you have kayaks?
Kayaks.
How many kayaks do you have?
There's just a few per building.
Per building, no kidding. And where do you go with the kayaks?
In the pool. In the pool. But with the snorkeling gear, actually, the plan for keeping the price to what it is on the sheet that you see is having one set that would then travel between the buildings. So instead of having a set at each building.
Sure.
Since it would be just a unit, it would be very easy to stagger, the time frame of use of the equipment, so one set would be able to travel through the district.
Oh, that's wonderful. Very interesting. Yes, Ms.
Thank you.
Franchek.
So when you say a set of snorkeling gear, that's for all of the students in one class to have a mask and a snorkel, or is that one set for them to all rotate and try that particular set?
It's a set for your class, or each student in the class would have the equipment.
Wow.
And so we would have, a variety of sizes available since the students are different sizes, but they would all have the mask, fin, snorkel set to use. And then it would be used within that class, and then it would be passed to the next building to utilize for their class and move around the district. We get the carpentry within our district carpentry. They can make travel containers that they've made for some of our other equipment that travels the district. So we just put in a work order and they travel it around for us. Since it's not something that would be needed daily for an entire semester, we'd be able to stagger it and use one set to cover the district.
What if a student had his or her own equipment for snorkeling? Would you allow that to be used?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay, yes.
Did you say scuba as in certified to be a scuba?
No,
You said, did you say
the
snorkeling?
lifeguard, but Scuba Underwater Connection offers a scuba introductory. It's like a 2-day course. One day is a land, so the knowledge component, and one day is actually in the pools. And some of our districts around here, Whitefish Bay, Shorewood, Homestead, I believe it's Brooks Central. There's a couple other ones that have them come in, and they do this on site in the pools at the school. Okay. But that is an additional cost because they charge. They bring on all the scuba gear, and that would be something that we'd like to try to figure out how to add, but have it as an option because you couldn't obviously require a student for that much of an expenditure. But they do also would come on site if it takes off. They would come on site if students were interested in going through the entire scuba certification. They would come to our buildings to do that if there were kids that, after school, weekends, that would want to get certified in that.
I think we, anything else? Okay. I think we need to let the public know about all this wonderful course offerings that we have, because I'm not so sure that all high schools and middle schools offer what we do, and I think we're very, very unique, and certainly is a feather in our hat that we would somehow, talk about adding these courses. So maybe we can talk to Terry Schuster, because there's some wonderful, wonderful things going on that I know are not available at other schools. So thank you for your creativity in developing this. This is wonderful. Proud of you.
That'd help.
Anything else? Okay. This is an action item, so we have a motion, please, to accept the high school physical education course sequence and new courses.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Second? Okay. Moved and seconded to accept the physical education course sequence and new courses. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We opposed? Okay, 4-0, Stacy. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the good old overnight trip requests.
Paczynski can come up here. Now we can have him come up here. Sure, I will re-invite Amy Lang up with Dan Paczynski. You can come on up now.
Okay, Dan, this time I'll let you.
Again, just context reminder from last month. You saw the introduction for the course sequence, very exciting times in the computer science world. So in addition to the course sequence proposal, there were a few course additions upon which we're asking again for your action item. You see a theme happening this evening with getting these hopefully approved by you so that we can get them up and running with course selection starting in a few months. So take it away.
Yes, so again, very similar to the PE, we did the overview last month, and so just simply refer back to our one-sheeter that we presented, as well as follow-up from Mr. McCaffrey's question, and the report, the update that I provide in terms of how our AP course is looked at the college level. And certainly it is up to the colleges how they want to assign those credits and what course exemptions they are. So I took common schools within the area and provided kind of an outline of how they're looking at each of those courses. But I'll turn it over to my two esteemed colleagues who can talk about the UBDs and plans
Great.
for that.
I guess I'll start, and we'll start with the middle school. So what we are doing is taking like a beginning programming coding class and moving that down to the middle school level, and that is the Introduction to Computer Science. It will be a semester-long course, and it will be a curriculum provided by Project Lead the Way. So what we are looking to do is implement that at each of the 3 middle schools and have that one semester opportunity for kids to look at what that might be like. As you recall, as Dan referred back to that diagram, looking at the application avenue and then students, this might be an on-ramp for students who are interested in going for that AP Computer Science in high school and give them a starting point. But again, additionally, students could go from either the app development into the coding, computer science, in any direction. So it really is just an avenue to give them that experience in middle school to be able to work with computer science. And Project Lead the Way is changing rapidly and trying to keep up with computer science. So we're excited about having at least to start with that curriculum that gives teachers, you know, they get the training, they get the curriculum, and giving them a good solid starting point for providing rigorous curriculum in computer science. And then leading up into the high school, also from Project Lead the Way, would be the curriculum for the AP Computer Science Principles course. The College Board has teamed up with Project Lead the Way in computer science, and so has provided, they're working together with curriculum, and College Board has said that the curriculum that Project Lead the Way provides will allow students the opportunity, or will give them that curriculum that they need to be able to take the AP Computer Science test at the end of that course. So we're excited to be able to do that. The belief is that with that curriculum, that students would be able to take that as a single course in high school and be able to pass that test. And so again, looking to start that with the Project Lead the Way curriculum, which provides the training to allow students to take that AP course in this new area. So it gives us a new opportunity for AP.
Great. Well, in addition to the 2 courses that Amy just described, the one at the middle school level, Introduction to Computer Science through Project Lead the Way, and then AP Computer Science Principles, which is also supported by Project Lead the Way, we're going to be offering two new options for our students to do some app development for Apple devices, what's commonly referred to as iOS app development. It's because that development's moving so quickly, we're going to be utilizing a program called Mobile Makers. We're going to be using their training and their curriculum and all their avenues for support to help our teachers get on board with the curriculum in the ever-changing world of computer science. So at the high school level, we're proposing 2 courses, App Development 1 and App Development 2. Both are semester options, and both courses, App Development 2 would be a prerequisite for App Development 1. App Development 2, yeah, absolutely. So as we look to this, the one thing we're really trying to do is engage students that typically aren't engaged in computer science. So through this visual programming, through the visual program creations they're going to make, hopefully more students will see app development as a way to be creative and programming as a way to be creative. And that's one of the huge pushes that we're trying to do. Whereas if you look more at the AP Computer Science Principles and the AP Computer Science courses that we're going to be looking at later on, those are really fundamental to programming. This is just another avenue at getting more students interested in it.
And so I was fortunate enough to be able to be in the Dells for our statewide technology conference slate. And I can tell you that of all of the sessions that I saw today where they're talking about how technology is enhancing curriculum, no one, absolutely no one across the state is talking about this app development or iOS. And then the keynote speaker was talking about the desperate need for computer science, particularly for computer science and engaging girls and students of color within computer science. And so, again, the statistics that we highlighted last month were reiterated today around we have thousands of job openings in this field and only less than 1,000 students
Wow.
who have graduated in this field. And so this is an untapped area. And so the cost outline that's associated with this has been outlined and discussed with Jody prior to even bringing this to this point. So we feel we've built a sustainable plan that then we'll review and then come back in a few years just to give you an update on how things are going once it's up and running. So,
Questions,
open
comments?
for questions.
Comment. You know, a comment that comes up, I think, for me anyway, frequently when I talk with parents, people in the community, they're just kind of surprised that we do not teach kids keyboarding. Why not? What are we going to do about it?
We actually Amy and I just had this discussion.
So what we're looking at, we do still have keyboarding at the high school level. And so, again, as I mentioned last month, we've had it at lower grades, but not with consistency. And so we're actually looking at putting it back at the middle school level as an elective course, in addition to the ones that they have. We did not bring that before the board because it's already on the books, so it didn't need to be approved. But looking at, I kind of thought when we put keyboarding at the 6th grade level, when the wheel classes first started, that the high school course would just die a natural death.
Right.
And it has not. I mean, even with it in the
Really?
6th grade. And I think maybe that's partly because students, as they get older and are getting ready to go on to that next phase of their life, realize what an important skill it is, more so than sometimes kids in middle school. But we are looking at the potential of adding that in as a semester elective at middle school too.
Well, we used to do it in elementary school. Is any consideration being given in elementary school? Because kids use the computers probably just as much, since each child has a computer, they're using computers just as much as middle school and high school.
We looked at that option many, many years ago.
Oh, we did.
And at that point in time, to do it the right way was too cost prohibitive because of the teachers that would need to be available for the elementary students. And yes, we know it can be done by classroom teachers also, and they did that for a while. I don't oversee that area, so I don't know what happened with it. Again, I know that some teachers were doing, there just wasn't consistency there, and I honestly don't know if they still do it to some extent or not.
If I remember correctly, the issue was that the business ed teachers were the ones that had to teach the keyboarding versus the regular classroom teacher, right?
Classroom, in terms of certification, classroom teachers would be allowed to do it through DPI, but they would be the only ones besides a business ed teacher. However, it's a skill, similar to FIED, similar to other things, that there's a right and a wrong way to teach the skill. So if you want, of course, I'm a business teacher by trade, so if you're looking for my opinion on the right way to do it, it would be with the business ed teacher. And that was very cost prohibitive to get someone out to all of the elementary schools.
Right, I understand that.
And so then our next best option would be to put it at the middle school.
Well, that's
Yeah,
better.
Start there.
Pardon
Right.
me?
Start at the middle school level.
At least, because, I think kids need to be taught the proper way. You see them.
I agree.
Yeah, well, thank you, good. Okay, that's an action item. Is there any other discussion or questions? Okay, could we have a motion to approve the computer science course, please?
Science program is presented.
Okay, a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the computer science course sequence and new courses. All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, Stacy. Well, thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
all of your innovation and creativity. I'm really proud of us. Another thing, we need to tell the world what we're doing. Great stuff. Thank you. Okay. Now we get into the approval of the 2016-2017 overnight trip requests.
Right, so the last action item for your approval this evening is just one proposal in front of you, the Key Club District Conference proposal, that's in front of you. So that's what we're asking you to take action on.
Okay. Any questions on any of the information? It was done perfectly. Thank you, Stacy. Yes.
Clarification on the cost. The cost, as it shows on the first page here, Stacy.
Yep.
Paid by student, approximately 7 or 10, and then it also says percent paid by site. So
My understanding of that is that the advisor put the total cost there, knowing that through fundraising as well as some donation from Kiwanis, they typically do not have to pay the cost that he showed there.
for
Yeah.
the kid.
The students will likely pay approximately $95 to $100.
Okay, thank you. That's much clearer.
Yeah, I called her and asked her about that too today. Okay, any other questions about that field trip? Okay, then can we have a motion to approve?
I move the approval of the field trip.
Okay, is there a second? Second? Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the overnight trip requests as presented. All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Thank you. Okay, now we get into the information items.
Right, so per board's request, we have an early learning update, but I want to, I'll bring Laura Faust up here, and she'll introduce her team. I just want to say Laura's done, you know, as we know, a tremendous job with the early learning work, but come on, team, yeah. Whoosh, remember? You guys were all here for that. Our continuous focus on the SAIL improvement process in this district just needs to continue to be reminded to the board that each of our site teams is working on a SAIL process, and this early learning group is similar in that process. So
okay.
they're giving you an update through the SAIL process upon which they'll frame their key targets and work this year through their theory of action. And it's really just a sight to see about the collaborative work that's coming forth from this team. So thank you all for being here this evening.
Are these teachers from schools in our district, or are they outside the district?
Yep, I'll have them, yes.
Pardon me?
They'll introduce themselves.
We're
Okay.
going to introduce ourselves, but
Yep.
they're all from elementary sites.
Okay, great.
So the 4K SAIL team, as Jody's mentioned, was established in the spring of 2006. So our team is myself as the early learning coordinator.
I'm Beth Sander. I'm a school psychologist in the district.
I'm Jenna Stahl. I teach 4K at Rose Glen.
I'm Carrie Marino. I teach 4K.
And Meredith Semrad is also on our team. She is a speech and language pathologist, but she is out with the flu.
Oh.
So she could not join. I told her to keep her germs at home.
That's right.
Occupational hazard.
That's right.
So the 4K SAIL process started with discussing what was going well, what was going okay, and what needed to change. We looked at the data that we had available, and those initial conversations, we identified that some things could be tweaked and some things absolutely needed to change. So tonight we wanted to share the work that we have done to establish a strong 4K program. And we do recognize that SAIL is a multi-year process, and we believe that a solid foundation is essential to our long-range success.
4K is about giving kids opportunities to learn and grow.
It's about helping children get acclimated to school.
It's about engagement.
It's about setting the educational stage. We've probably all experienced frustration while waiting on a slow-moving train in Waukesha, and we just want to get to our destination.
Before setting a goal, we first had to understand the differences between where we were and where we wanted to go. We decided that the 4K program needed to establish consistent expectations and develop a stable infrastructure. And so our journey began.
Our original analysis in June suggested that the structure of 4K was in a state of chaos. There was a lack of central focus. Everyone seemed to be doing their own thing. There were no clear or consistent outcomes for 4K students. There were inconsistencies in how student progress was measured. and demographic data was either omitted or entered inaccurately. The only consistent element was confusion over standards, curriculum, learning targets, and grade level outcomes. The 4K teachers were working hard, but they were not necessarily on the same track or headed in the same destination. As a result, 4K children received a wide range of learning experiences, and what they were taught may not have been aligned to the learning targets in kindergarten or beyond.
We needed to funnel our energy to bring order to 4K and get everyone, including community partners, on the same track. To accomplish this, we worked on several projects, including completion of a content overview, extensions of literacy and math continuums so that they included 4K, creation of a social emotional continuum, development of benchmark assessments, and revision of our vision and mission statements that reflected our shared commitment.
So one of the first things that we worked on was a 4K content overview, and what a content overview is, it's used by teachers as a structural guide so that all 4K classrooms offer similar activities presented within a common time frame. The three main content areas are social, emotional, literacy, and math.
We also wanted to provide teachers with a tool that would empower them to be able to explain that education of young children may look different than teaching older children, but everything we do is driven by standard-based outcomes. The 4K staff members meet 2 times per month and on focused PD and PLC work. The 3 broad domains are derived from our theory of action. We work on curricular fidelity. In PD that we have done on curricular fidelity has been literacy, math, and social emotional continuums, sharing them and helping the teachers dig into understanding them. We've made curricular frameworks that the teachers use as a guide to help them as a pathway throughout the year so they can make sure that they're getting to all learning outcomes. We also worked on reporting progress to families. For instructional planning, we spent some time looking at developmentally appropriate practices, positive behavioral supports. We did some work with a book called Big Ideas of Early Mathematics and Play Workshop. Assessment for learning, we worked with observation as a formative assessment tool and shared activities to gather observational data for benchmark assessments.
Why is play important? Play is the work of children. Play experiences shape the brain and build resilience, allowing children to learn to deal with complex or unpredictable environments. Through play, children develop emotional regulation, stress response systems, and creativity.
This year, Laura provided us with all 4K and 5K teachers actually were included. We were all invited to participate in a book study from a book called Purposeful Play. It is an absolutely wonderful, inspiring book, especially for 4K teachers who are advocates for play in the classroom. 25 teachers signed up for the book study, and all of our discussions are surrounded around the importance of play and how we can embed it and infuse it within our instruction. The next page, sorry for the small print, apologize. But within the book, Purposeful Play, it goes over something called Play Workshop. And just like other workshop formats, Play Workshop really is an opportunity for children to be independent and use the skills that they learn during our focus lessons and our mini lessons independently during their play throughout the day. Because really what we are doing with our children is we want them to be positively interacting with their peers, building that solid foundation for school. So this is just an overview of Play Workshop. Children choose where they're going to play for that day. It might be puzzles, games, blocks, art. They get to choose their interest, what they want to do for that day, and then the teacher engages them in a focus lesson. And this is usually some kind of social and emotional skill, taking turns, sharing, identifying feelings, being able to give an apology, a compliment, something that we can teach and then we can see them actively using within their play. Playtime usually lasts anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes, depending on the grade level. And then at the end, they come back and we share what they did during that play experience. So today I really saw this group of children use this skill really well. And they can also come back and share with us things that they thought went well or questions they might have. Well, you know, today I had this problem. This child did this to me, didn't apologize. What can I do about that next time? And then we can talk about it as a whole group and discuss it. And it's been a really powerful practice for me. And I know talking to other 4K teachers, we do this already, but this just gave a framework and a structure to it. And just, it gave us kind of a more meaningful, like, yes, what I'm doing is right. It kind of gave us, I feel more powerful after reading this book and more intentional in my teaching.
The book is wonderful.
It is.
I read it too.
I read it in one day.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it down.
It hypes you up. Yeah.
And the discussions with the 5K teachers has brought that around to, yes, play is necessary, but the play that we watched first tonight just feeds into what we feed into what that is almost perfectly. So having those discussions with 4K and 5K has been really meaningful too. So we are going to repeat that. Our intention this year was to reduce the chaos. In other words, one train, one destination, same track, many cars. So how are we doing? The initial data from classroom walkthroughs provides the following insights. Visual schedules are an important part of an early learner's day. It allows them to see how their day is going, and we've found that 90% of our teachers have an interactive visual schedule that is at the child's level, so the children can interact with it. Teacher feedback, 75% of our teachers were observed giving descriptive feedback to children to help expand their thinking and build vocabulary. And teachers were labeling emotions. 75% of teachers were observed validating children's emotions by labeling their feelings and helping the children talk about them. And we go beyond the feelings of happy, mad, sad, glad. We get into frustration, confusion, aggravated, using those big words and how those are more complex feelings and how do we deal with those feelings.
There's a lot to celebrate so far, but we also have a long way to go. At this point, we have all 4K staff aboard one train heading toward the same destination. In 5 years, we'd expect to have this, a cutting-edge, high-performing 4K program that is laser-focused.
On behalf of 4K and our SAIL team, thank you for the opportunity to share one part of our story.
Well, I could praise you for an hour. I was very fortunate to go with Laura, and we visited sites in the district and sites that were at sites outside the district, and I was extremely pleased with what I saw. Very developmentally appropriate, very child-centered. And Beth, I know that you've had a great part in working with Laura, and that's very much appreciated because, you know, it just gave some oomph to it and to move forward. It would be my hope that in 5 years that K-5 would be where K-4 is. That would be my hope. Because it's like you described K-4 was. People do different things in different schools, and some do this and some do that, and it's not consistent. And so therefore, when those kids go to first grade, there's a variety of skills and lack of skills. So I'm very, very impressed with what you're doing. And this book study that Laura has originated, it's very well attended, and wonderful discussion goes on. And these teachers that are teaching K-4, you know, really, really understand the young child and what the young child needs in curriculum. I'm very, very proud of each one of you. And Laura, thank you for your leadership. It's phenomenal where we're going. And you've got support of central office, which means so much. I know you've got support of the board. So we have a very strong K-4 program. Is it all day everywhere or some? No, some places it is.
We have all day at 7 elementary sites. Our
Okay.
community partners, we have 9 community partners.
Right.
They're all half days. And we
Okay.
have 4 elementary schools that maintain, 4 or 3, that maintain morning and afternoon.
So what is it, a goal of ours to have all 4K all day or?
No, I think we're trying to accommodate all family
Okay, that's true.
desires and needs, and certain demographics need
Right.
all day, and certain
Right.
are benefited by half day. So we're trying to have a combination of both. to
Do
meet everyone's needs.
4-year-olds have to go to school, 4K in the school in their neighborhood, or is it more flexibility with where they go to 4K?
There's some flexibility. We are trying, and with the community partners,
Yes.
that allows families to maintain access to the community's preschools that they may have started as infants even.
Sure. Oh, right.
We are trying to help families get into their attendance area school to help build that bridge into knowing what school is all about. But there is flexibility for families to go outside their attendance area if that model matches
Right.
their needs.
With the expansion of 4K that we've had this year, what is our enrollment in K4
This year, we have 709 students.
compared to last year, which
That,
was?
I think we're up 50 students.
Wow, that's 700 kids. That's great.
And we are working with 35 teachers, so we increased, I think, by 3.
Wonderful. Is it possible that we'll, move some 4K into all schools?
We're looking at right now, we're in the process of enrollment.
Yes.
And we did a parent survey, so we're
Yes.
looking at expanding to include a 4K site at Lowell,
Oh,
as
good.
well as Hawthorne.
Uh-huh.
And whether those will be full or half days, when parents enroll, they do a site selection, and they let us know what their interests are.
Sure, okay. Yes,
We have, enrollment's been open this week, and we already have 150 kids enrolled in
Wow.
4K for next school year. So
Wonderful.
the word is out there, and it's a very
Wonderful.
popular option for families.
Wonderful.
And Mary Jo King and Terry have been instrumental in helping to get that word out on the nice banners that we've had out.
Yes. Well, I think, this is just an effort on behalf of central office, 4K level department, so I just couldn't be happier or more proud of you. Our young ones are in K4 are getting a phenomenal developmentally appropriate experience. Any questions? Nope. Comments?
Laura, what connection does the early childhood program have with 4K, if any?
We have 3 schools where we have early childhood. Early childhood is for students identified with special needs. Two of our schools, Rose Glen, where Jenna teaches, and Hadfield, where Carrie teaches, are our multi-age classrooms. So we have 3-year-olds that are identified with special needs that attend those 4K classes. They don't attend the whole time. They attend a couple days, 2 or 3 days a week, depending on what their needs are. And then we have another program at Lowell that's just for 3-year-olds that are identified with disabilities. And that teacher is Heather Lickey, and those kids attend, again, based on what their IEP needs are. We also have approximately 15 to 23-year-olds in community sites, not necessarily our partner sites. There's preschool options, and we have Sarah Rear, who is our community partner. She goes out and works with those students in different daycare centers and preschools.
Okay.
And speech and language is at all those sites as well.
Great.
Thank you.
We've had a request from the Montessori school that they would like to come and, give a presentation on what we're doing. Do we have a 4K program there?
We do have
Yeah.
students from school district, and they attend our PDs and
Okay, right.
PLCs.
Well, he would like to come and show off what they're doing, and so perhaps we can get him unscheduled, right?
About that, she's connecting with Bill on a optimal
Great,
time.
wonderful. Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
For doing what needs to be done. Laura, sometime I'd like to have some feedback on the National Early Childhood Conference that you recently attended. That would be real interesting. And you went along, didn't you, Beth? Ooh. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, next we have a student achievement update.
Sure. Amy Riebel, thank you. Our data coordinator, assessment liaison extraordinaire, is going to come talk to you about our district and school report cards. And just to remind you, the Department of Public Instruction has newly released these report cards. They had not issued, correct, that since 2014. And so just 2 weeks ago, this became public in all of our schools. Each of our sites got a school report card, as well as the district receiving an overall score. And so in an attempt to just really give you an appetizer about how, like, she's going to give you enough knowledge to make you deadly, kind of a thing, right? Enough that you can speak articulately to a little bit of the foundation of how the state uses the scoring. So she's going to try to make it concise, because it can get complicated.
Yes.
But she's going to do her best to give you an overview, and we appreciate her being here tonight. So thanks, Amy.
There we go. I'm not going to go through the 64-page technical guide, so you don't have to worry about that. I've had, since we got the draft report cards released to the public, or to schools back at the end of September until they were released on November 17th. I've had the equivalent of about 2 days worth of training in these report cards, and I still feel like every time I look at them, I learn something new. So like Jody said, this is just going to be a very brief overview, and if anybody is interested in looking at these in more depth, I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you about them. But it does get to be a little much after a while, and I realize, is my PowerPoint, is it coming? Okay. So you have a sample of or actually not a sample, but it is the district's report card. DPI issues not only a report card for each school district, but also for each individual school. Try it again. Okay. Let's see here.
But this is the district one, right?
Yes, so this is the district report card that was issued by DPI. And like Jody said, we've had report cards released since 2011, with the exception of last school year. There was nothing released for the 2014-2015 school year. I'm going to try this one more time. I've had such good luck in here in the past, so goodness. Okay. Whoops, maybe. Okay. It sounds good. So, so all of the data that is shared on this district report card, and the school report cards look very similar, and all of them are posted on the DPI website. All of the data is from the 15-16 school year, with the exception of some of the assessment data, and there's actually 3 years worth of assessment data in here, and then the attendance data is actually from the 14-15 school year, so attendance runs a year behind. Okay, I'm on some places and not the other ones. Okay. If you've seen the previous report cards, this year's report card looks very similar to past years, but the calculations behind the report cards are very different. So it's challenging to compare this year's report card to previous year's report card, because they used some different formulas. One of the things that I learned was that it's really important to look at each school's report card and our district report card as a point-in-time measure. And as things change, and it's particularly for the school report cards, as demographics change, the way the report card is calculated can be different. And I'll explain why that is here in just a little bit. So really looking at each school's report card as a point-in-time measure, and not comparing previous years to the new report cards. Any changes in the report cards, and we had some changes, some significant changes based on the calculations. Any specific changes between previous report cards and this report card could be because of the changes in the calculations, or actual changes in the performance at the school. So you have to really look at this and dig a little deeper sometimes to find out what the meaning is behind the report card. So the district report card. Okay, go ahead and if you can flip it over to should be the sample or the district report card there. The top half should come up. Nope, one more. There you go. All right, so I'll walk you through just what you're seeing here on the report card. Each report card and the schools, like I said, look very similar. They get an overall score that's there in the profile of Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin. And you can see the number, what the numbers mean and the colors mean just below that. Significantly exceeds expectations, meets few expectations, or fails to meet expectations are the accountability ratings that they give, and there's a corresponding score and a corresponding number of stars that are associated with each of those scores. At the district level, those scores are an average of the 4 priority areas that are on the right, minus any deductions for student engagement, kind of penalties, for lack of a better words. At the school level, those are calculated very differently, and we'll talk about that. But the 4 priority areas are student achievement, student growth, closing gaps, and on-track and post-secondary readiness. And then they measure student engagement based on the test participation, absenteeism, and then dropouts. So, and that's, this is the district overall card, but each school has a card specific to their information. Then at the bottom half of the report card, there's demographic information for, in this case, the district, but also each school would have that. And then their performance compared to the state on the achievement exams. So this is the overall district, how in the lighter colors, that's how our district, what our rate of proficiency was, and then compared to the state level of proficiency. And in both reading and math, and ELA, English Language Arts, and then math, and then there are multiple assessments included in this. So for grades 3 through 8, they took the forward exam. And in grade 11, they took the ACT. And then some of our students with significant disabilities took what was called the dynamic learning maps. And so those scores were also included in these results with that graph there on the bottom on the right. And then on the back side of your page, I didn't include that in the PowerPoint, but there's just some initial information on how that's scored, so, and what the scores mean. Have I lost you yet? All right, very good. All right, go ahead and flip to the next one. One of the biggest changes that impacted schools this year was they had some variable weighting based on the percentage of economically disadvantaged students at each school. So, and they measured that based on free and reduced lunch. So if your school had 35% of students who were economically disadvantaged, then you received, your weighting between growth and achievement was 50%. Your score was 50% growth, 50% achievement. If your percentage of free and reduced lunch students was less than 5%, then your growth was weighted 10% and achievement was weighted 90%. So that achievement was had the much heavier weight to it. If your percentage of free and reduced lunch students was 65% or more, then the growth was weighted at 90% and achievement was weighted at 10%. The idea being that students coming from poverty would show greater growth, but maybe not the higher achievement, and wanted to be able to highlight that in schools. And so that made a significant difference for some of our schools and how their report cards ended up looking. So that was really nice to be able to celebrate that growth that we, in many cases, knew was taking place, but didn't have the chance to, it wasn't always showing up on the previous report cards. So that was a major change. And that's when, as demographics change over time, then the report card can change. Because if you have a greater percentage of free and reduced lunch at your school the next year, it could change how that's weighted on your report card. So that's where that reminder about the point in time measure is really important, because the next year may be calculated differently.
Can I ask something?
Okay, still haven't lost you. Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm just wondering, is what you just said on here, front or back, or no?
Not to
90%
that,
audit?
not to that depth. There is, for each school and district report card, there is a 15-page version as well that has this in more detail. So, and that's also on the DPI website.
Okay.
But I thought we'd start with one page, and then we can sit down and definitely look at the 15-pager, so.
So is that DPI website, is that accessible by anyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, each school has a secure version that they can look at. In some cases have identifying student information on them, so the public can't access those, but they can access a redacted version.
Okay.
So. One thing that it's important to note about the report cards is that the achievement data comes from, for grades 3 through 8, comes from 3 different assessments. It comes from the forward exam, the Badger exam that was given just in 2014-15, and then the WKCE that was given in 13-14. So that creates some different dynamics there in looking at, I'm sorry, oh, we lost it again. That's okay. No, that's okay. Oh, there you go. Okay, thank you. The other piece that was a change was that ACT is used for the 11th grade score. So that's the only achievement measure that they have on the high school report cards is that ACT at 11th grade.
And everybody takes that?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless they take the DLM, the Dynamic Learning Maps. All right, so the other big shift occurred in the student growth category. And DPI began using, and this was based in legislative changes, began using a student growth measure called the value added model. And I went to a whole day of training on value added and feel like I just scratched the surface of what it all means. But there is some very complex statistics that they use to measure the growth that students make. In this case, it was between the forward and the Badger exam, and the growth that students made compared to the growth they are predicted to make. So if students make more growth than the statistics predict, then it's a positive value add. If they don't make as much, then it's a negative value add, and then schools get a score based on that. So, and that value added model includes statistical controls that factor in family economic status, disability status, level of English language proficiency, and race and ethnicity. So it's a very kind of an overwhelming statistical model, but they have begun using that for that measure. So that's a piece of this report card as well.
Is this information that's here on the district, is that public information?
All you see on this report card would be the overall student growth score and we received an overall score as a district of 68.9. It
Okay.
doesn't go into all the calculations that are behind that.
Okay. And what about individual schools?
Individual schools would see their overall score and get a little more information about not individual students, but groups of students and how they did.
And if
So
someone
they
was
can use-
interested in seeing that, they can go online or they can go to the school and get a copy?
Correct, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Now, can I just ask a question?
Yes,
Kind
definitely.
of on the same topic. What about student report cards?
Yes, students for the forward exam, or based on this work, or just regular old
just a
student report
student old
cards?
report card.
Yeah, we still have
And
student
so,
report cards.
Are they different at K, different at 1, different at grade 2? How are they the same or how are they different?
And I'm going to let Melissa answer that question.
Well,
Or can we?
since it's not related to the district report card and it's not necessarily something that Amy should answer, can we get back to
Okay.
you on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
is really completely separate from
Sure,
this report
I
card.
understand, I understand.
Just
I'll make a note.
Sure.
yeah,
Thank you.
That'd be great because that is an important topic, definitely. So then there are two others. Stacy, if you want to move on to the next, closing the gaps. They look at both gaps in achievement based on those assessments that I mentioned before, as well as in the rate of graduation. And they look at a statewide group and then a comparative district group and the gap between those. And that's what they use to figure how we're doing compared to the state on closing the gaps. And again, we just get an overall number score. We don't get to see all the calculations behind that. And then the last priority area is that on-track and post-secondary readiness that talks about the graduation rate and also two key targets that they've identified, English language arts achievement at 3rd grade and math achievement at 8th grade. And so they've identified those as two key areas that they want to monitor and that show a student's ability to be on track for graduation. So that is figured in there as well. And again, we just get that overall priority score on the report card. One thing that you may have heard some talk about is the student engagement indicators. They look at test participation, attendance or absenteeism, and the dropout rate, and they have a set percentage that they want each school to meet. And one that was of particular interest to us this year as we looked at our report cards was that we should test 95% or more of our students on the assessments. And if you don't test 95% or greater, both this past year and over 3 years, then there's a deduction. And so they take either 5 points or 10 points right off the top of your overall score. And we did have that happen in a few cases at our schools, and it caused few of our schools to, where they may have met expectations, they then would meet few expectations. And so that created some definite discussion about not only making sure that we're testing everybody, but is it a true indicator of how our schools are doing if, a 5-point deduction off the top of that score is pretty significant. So has that always been the case? I believe so. Yeah, we've had that happen in a few cases before, and certainly there were schools across the district or across the state that experienced that same thing.
What about when parents opt out because of capital
That's
core
a great
testing, whatever? Are they
question.
penalized?
Yes, if parents opt out, then that counts against us in that test participation. And so we did have a school where we had a larger number of families opt out of testing, and that was enough to drop their participation rate. So, yeah, there's been a lot of discussion around that across the state as I've talked with different people. So, okay, Stacey, you can go ahead and skip to slide 13 there. So by the time we got these school report cards, and every school did review their report card and plan some next steps. We had some schools that had some really fun celebrations. We had some schools that had some questions, and we did some deeper looking and contacting DPI to get more information. We had schools that wrote letters and communications home with the report cards. We left it up to each site how they wanted to communicate and work with their parent communities. But one of the things that we knew was that this data was already 6 months old by the time it got to the report card. It's all really old news for us in a lot of ways. And so as we sat down and looked with individual schools, they had already seen, if there was a concern, they had already seen that and addressed it through their sale process. And so it was really nice to be able to sit down with schools and then they say, oh yeah, we noticed that too when we got our forward exam results, so here's what we've done, or we've noticed that in other data that they'd collected. So I don't think there were a ton of surprises in this report card, and so in a lot of the communications to families, it was very much a matter of, you've probably seen us take these steps already as a school, and here's a way that you as parents can be involved in the process. So Terry Schuster was instrumental in helping with some of the communications as well as the articles that appeared both in the Journal Sentinel and in the Freeman. Good. So getting this information out. All right, did we survive? right.
Yeah.
Okay. Tedious stuff, so. Any other questions?
Does anyone have any questions or comments or concerns? This is a lot of work, and understanding it takes a lot of work and skill, too.
I think people see me coming and they think report cards
Of
and they go the
course.
other way.
Of course.
No, I
That's the
just,
point.
before Amy leaves, I do want to say, I want to affirm both Amy and Terry's work with our school principals and being really proactive with communication and understanding around this. They've put in tireless hours to make sure that our leadership teams feel comfortable in communicating this to parents. So both of you, job well done. So thank you.
And again, if you think of questions later, please don't hesitate to let me know.
Okay.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you for that comment. I think that very well deserved. All right, thank you, Amy. All right, we have one more item, Summit View. I am so sorry.
I'm not going to
Summit
say
View.
we saved the best for last, but I think we did, because I'm so, I don't want to be biased.
So
but
patient. Thank you so much.
So Jeff Peterson is here with his outstanding team.
Yes.
To highlight, again, some great things happening at Summit View, and they have some direct correlation with some of their improvement efforts around informational writing, CGI math, and their, of course, arts integration. That has been just, from my point of view, very affirming to watch all the hard work, and really their students, as you'll see in their outcomes, are reaping the benefits. So Jeff Peterson and the team, thank you so much for being here tonight, and we really are celebrating Summit View this evening, so thank you for being here.
Thank you, and we actually definitely want to make that connection between the sale process, but then what Amy just shared with and what our teachers do
Uh-huh.
at the sports. Focus in on a little bit tonight. Luckily, we have PowerPoint for you that you can follow along if the
Smart, thank you
monitors
for
aren't
doing-
working. So please feel free to
Good old
interact with
paper.
us. What's that?
Good old paper.
Good old paper, exactly. Please feel free to interact as we're presenting. If you have questions
Okay.
or comments or anything, we certainly are comfortable addressing as we go through. But
Thank you for that.
So I just want to share with you that we're going to specifically share tonight what we're doing with our writing goal, which is integrating the informational writing across our curriculum. We will review a little bit of data. We're going to kind of go through that very quickly, and then talking about our professional learning and teaching that happens to impact what our students do in terms of achievement, and then share just a tidbit, kind of most recent data as of this morning with you that will kind of predict our next steps. Introducing our team a little bit, we have Mary Nelson, who's our literacy effectiveness coach, Terry Froyland, who's our math effectiveness coach, 5th grade teacher Sarah Gierach, 2nd grade teacher Liza Huth, 2nd grade teacher Veronica Haig, and our Dean of Students, Jody Callies, who is going to play the role of moderator tonight. So we have a nice presentation for you to enjoy.
We have 593 students. Exciting that we have students coming from 12 different elementary schools in the school district of Waukesha. We're pretty excited about that, as well as 73 highly trained staff. Our race and ethnicity information shows that we mirror the school district of Waukesha, with the exception of the dual language programs, with our numbers there, as you can see outlined on the graphic. And then with our student groups, we are experiencing a pretty significant increase with students with disabilities, as well as an increase with students that are economically disadvantaged. But we're especially proud of the fact that our achievement has sustained at that same level, despite the fact that our demographics are changing. So we're pretty excited about that. As Jeff mentioned, in the 2016-17 school year, 80% of the students will score proficient or better on the May 2017 informational writing assessments using the Lucy Calkins Teacher College Reading and Writing rubrics. We've actually been in this goal for 3 years. And the school leadership team dug really deep this year into the reasons why we might not be meeting our goal, and we peeled away the layers of instructional practices to make some pretty important discoveries. And Veronica is actually going to talk about some of those discoveries that we made as we dug deeper.
When we as a staff got together, we just talked about possibilities of what might be causing us not to be meeting our goal as quickly as we had hoped. And some of the reasons we thought of were maybe the fidelity amongst the resources that we were using. One grade level might be using Calkins, while another level might be getting it from other sources. There's also several different rubrics or checklists that are available. Even within the Lucy Calkins kit, there's checklists and there's rubrics. So just that difference of how we were scoring might have been a possibility. And then between vertical grade levels, sometimes the expectations weren't clear. So from first to second grade, a first grade teacher might not know everything that is expected in second grade and second to third and so on. And then even within a grade level, Liza and I both teach second grade, and I'd come from third, so even my expectations sometimes were higher than what maybe she had seen. So even that inter-rater reliability might be slightly different too. And then we noticed that a lot of times informational writing was happening within the writing block of the day. Maybe it wasn't always happening in science or always in social studies, or if it was more sporadic. And then just that need for professional development, specifically on informational writing, we felt was really needed. So based on all of that, we kind of gathered it together, and then we wrote some goals, and we call them the theory of action. And we wrote them with if-then statements, hoping that if we do these things, then our outcomes will meet our goal. So, I think
Thank you. So, we know that instruction has a huge impact on achievement outcomes. So with that in mind, the SAIL team crafted a strategic plan to improve writing instruction. It sounded like this: if professional development is embedded, personalized, and focused, then teachers will strategically plan and implement effective instruction. So we started to break apart the theory of action for you, and we'll show you how we developed the strategic learning plan to meet our rigorous goal. Mary is actually going to talk about that PD plan and how that theory of action works.
So we decided first off that we needed to really focus everything we're doing on writing this year. So if you see on the slide, we have kind of our project plan that the SAIL team developed, and it's our project plan for all the PD and PLCs that are happening throughout the year. So we have 6 half-day PDs that you're going to hear about in future slides. We have weekly PLCs that are facilitated by the 2 coaches that work with writing workshop teachers and non-writing workshop teachers they're working on integrating writing into the curriculum. And we put the inked part already happened. The part that is on Post-it notes is our tentative plan that we want to be flexible and make changes if need be. So everything we're doing this year has a focus on writing. And you're going to hear about those steps of the theory of action from teachers.
Great, thank you. So not only is the PD focused, but it's also personalized. All 3 of these ladies here tonight are literacy model classroom teachers, and they get extensive personalized coaching and literacy practices. Veronica is going to explain a little bit about that coaching cycle and what that looks like and how she experiences it and puts it into practice.
Mary and I have been working closely this year, and we started out by, I just looked at the ESAIL continuum to see where I felt I already was and where I had room for growth. And so after reflecting on that, we set a goal, and I really wanted to increase my student engagement within the classroom. It was a different group this year than I had last year, and they just weren't as engaged in the conversations or as engaged with some of the charts that we were using for our lesson plan. They weren't going back to their notebook as much as my last year's class. So we picked overall engagement as my goal to work towards. First, Mary just kind of came into my room and just got the lay of the land and kind of got the feel of how the routines of my classroom run. And then she modeled some lessons for me, and I observed her. So it started with her observing, and then we kind of switched roles, and then I observed what she would do. And meanwhile, taking notes of things that I could include then into my practice. And we worked on things like using talk moves, some sentence starters for students to use when they have that conversation to build upon each other. They used to just use kind of one-word answers, and now they use it not just in our language workshop or writing, but they're using it throughout the day. That they really picked up on the talk moves quite quickly, so it's really neat to see. And then the other part was just using some of those anchor charts a little bit more, and so we worked together at getting them in different parts of our thoughtful log that we use for reflection, and then just referencing them in the classroom. And they go up to them on their own to, just kind of check back on different strategies that we've used or other sentence starters that they can include. So that engagement has definitely been increased. She and I had also met together then each week to plan and really be thoughtful about our planning, so that when we were making the lesson plans for our language workshop, we were making sure to also include some of those, making sure our anchor charts would go throughout the whole thoughtful log and making sure that it would tie in with reading and with writing as well. After that, then our cycle is now ended, so we ended with a reflection piece again. We looked at the ESL continuum, checked to see where I started and then where I felt that I had grown and where I was at now. And then our next set will start over again. And my next one that I want to work on is really aligning reading, writing, and language workshop and tightening that up a little bit more. I think the process has helped me as a teacher first of all, just learn new approaches, like the talk moves. I hadn't used that before as directly, so that's been really helpful. And just being more purposeful with the anchor charts that I choose, thinking ahead of how they might benefit the students, but then also kind of getting more bang for my buck, if you will. Not making sure, like, I'm making one for language workshop, one for reading, one for writing, but one that will extend throughout the whole process so that the kids can connect to it too. And then also just those thoughtful log entries. It was fairly new to us last year, so a lot of our entries were in the My Thinking section primarily, but just making sure that I'm balancing that throughout the strategy section and the genres and then the powerful words and language too.
So not only is that PD personalized and focused, but we also recognize that we really have to have an all-hands-on-deck attitude towards increasing writing achievement. Writers workshop teachers explicitly instruct students in writing, but all specialists, special education teachers and non-writing content area teachers are contributing to our goal too. Terry is our math coach and is involved in our writing goal as well. Terry is going to share how specialists and special education teachers and other content area teachers are playing a very active role in integrating.
So our informational writing goal truly is an all-school goal. All staff members are working with students on improving that skill. So sometimes we meet as a whole staff, and sometimes we break apart where Mary, since she's a literacy coach, works with the writing workshop teachers on explicitly teaching those writing skills. And I work with the other teachers, which encompasses math teachers, science teachers, art, speech and language, physical education, and how are they going to immerse their students in more informational writing throughout the entire building, throughout the entire day. And the photo that you see pictured there is that group of people. So these are the non-writers workshop teachers. And this is one of 2 half-day PDs that we had for those teachers specifically. And in this photo, they're digging deeper into those writing standards, specifically the informational writing standards, and really diving deeply into them so they understand them at a pretty deep level. We also worked on the other types of writing as well, so they are familiar with the opinion argument writing and with the narrative writing, but again, our school-wide focus is on the informational writing.
Terry, is the training completely done, or is there more to come?
there is more to come. So they will be involved in another half-day PD session to collaborate, learning with the writing teachers as well. Another theory of action step involved PLC time, where those teachers meet weekly and they share their practice, they reflect on what has been happening and plan next steps. So we have PLCs that meet by grade level, and then we also have vertical PLCs, and in those vertical PLCs, as I sort of alluded to, sometimes we meet as a whole staff to talk about writing, and sometimes we divide into that writing and non-writing teacher group, and that group meets monthly. So each non-writing teacher created their own integration plan of how they're going to have more informational writing included in their classrooms. And here is an example on this slide. You can see a photo. This is from physical education. And they do a geocaching unit where they use these handheld devices and learn some latitude and longitudinal skills while they're outside in our woods being active and finding little prizes. It's a favorite activity for kids. And then at the same time, where many physical education teachers would leave it at that wonderful activity, they go the next step further, and they include writing in it as well. So you can see that's a little example of a reflection piece that they did in their Phi Ed class on how they felt the geocaching experience went for them.
Thank you. So every time you say writing, in my head I have a question mark. And so I just wanted to clarify. Now that picture showed that she was actually writing. But if someone said, I'm a writer, well, they could be typing the book out. When you say writing, are they writing? Or is it sometimes on their iPads? Are you specifically trying to get them to print more, to use their spelling skills?
It varies. In Writer's Workshop, the vast majority of the time it is writing by hand. When you're looking at the broader across the curriculum, sometimes it is on a computer.
Okay, thank you.
This picture is going to show you an artifact from a writing integration plan from non-Writer's Workshop teachers, actually from these two. They're cohorts. There's the second grade teachers that teach math, science, and social studies, and they chose as one of their writing projects that they are writing lab reports in science in second grade. So on the left side of your screen or your paper, you're going to see their writing integration plan, and as I said, every non-Writer's Workshop teacher created something like that. So it includes the standards and what their plan is, what they're going to be doing, and then what their assessment is. And then on the right, you can see a student at work on her lab report.
Next, we're talking about analyzing student work. If students' writing assessments are analyzed, then teachers will be responsive to students' learning needs and make appropriate curricular or continuum adjustments. Our theory of action calls for writing assessments to be analyzed so teachers can be responsive to student learning. Liza is also a model classroom teacher.
So in the current coaching cycle that Mary and I are working on, I have been using the ASW tool. And we started with a writing pretest, and we looked closely at the assessments to be able to identify where the students were falling on the learning continuum. And then we placed them on the ASW tool based on their strengths and their needs. We identified, based off of the results, that organization in writing was going to be the focus for the unit. So I actually kind of broke down the Culkin's rubric into just the overall and then the organization piece, so that I really had a solid focus on just those two sections for this particular writing unit. Then from this process of analyzing the students' assessments, I was able to respond instructionally by personalizing their learning with the one-on-one conferences that I'm doing. And you can see up there is an example of my conferring notes, and this is how I'm able to take their writing pieces, take what I'm doing and noticing in their conferences, and then apply that to the writing continuum as well. And then I have some evidence for that continuum. And now my next step is that I'm going to kind of look at those notes and then form my groups for some guided groups during writing instruction, and kind of take what I've done in conferring and move on to that next step for guided groups.
And part of our coaching reaching agreement at Summit View is that pass on those skills that how you paid it forward.
Sure. So recently we had a half-day PD, and I had an opportunity to model a conference with a student. She brought her writing to the group, and the teachers watched as I just went through what I would be doing in a conference, and how I was able to analyze the assessment and then use that in my conference with her. I then showed how I use my conference notes as evidence of proficiency on the writing continuum. And as a classroom teacher, I appreciate that we have this opportunity to have like a real live classroom setting happening in front of us, and being able to share that. I was happy to have that opportunity with my colleagues.
Can I just make a comment, because this is powerful beyond words to me. You say it very proudly, but I mean, this is hard work, and this has been cultivated by a leader in the building who believes in collaboration and a high talent teacher group that is making this happen, and it is quite phenomenal. So thank you for that.
So our last theory of action step is about collaboration, and actually, classroom teachers and specialists collaborate to teach compelling objectives in writing. Then instruction will engage students' How has collaboration played a role in your teacher development, and what does an engaged student
This theory of action step resonated with me because I love to collaborate with my colleagues. So we collaborate weekly with my team members, but then we also have PD sessions where we can collaborate with our specialists and other people in the building. I'm also a model classroom, so I've had the chance to work with Mary as well and learn the best practices in writing integration through reading workshop and language workshop. And then I'm going to share with you how these have helped my students maintain levels of engagement in learning. I learned from my training I'm going to share a part of a literature discussion group that literature discussion groups can help scaffold and engage students in the learning cycle. So authentic writing engages and prepares the students for group discussion. You'll notice that I'm more of an observer during the discussion, and that's on purpose. This allows the students to take ownership of their discussion and share their learning. Oh, yes, and then, so before the students have the discussion, they usually write, and then I confer with them individually. But then also after they have the discussion, they write again to kind of synthesize their ideas and their thinking. And a lot of times the discussion helps them maybe change the way they thought before, and so they can write about that experience.
Before you start the video, I just want to mention that part of what we're doing with students is we're teaching them how to think, which we know is a 21st century skill. And we want to preface the video with, this is a video, a piece of text that they chose, a piece of critical literacy. And it's a controversial topic. They're going to be discussing should professional athletes be able to protest at sporting events, which I'm sure you all know about. And we were just so proud of them, how they were able to have this critical discussion, come into the conversation with their own opinions, and leave the conversation with changed minds. And so it may sound a little controversial as they start, but they really work through it. And I love how Sarah, and I've worked with quite a few teachers in literature discussion groups, and Sarah has really been a model for our district in teaching kids how to own the learning and take a step back and let them do the thinking and them do the talking. So you're going to see that. We're not going to show the whole video. We're going to show about 5 minutes of it. Okay.
Well, sometimes we're doing bad stuff to African Americans, but most of the time they're just doing bad stuff to us. So we take them into custody and some other things. But we hurt them sometimes. I can add on to that. Like the article said, like the people felt like he was disrespecting his country, and like wasn't like being fair to the African Americans, because the police were like hurting them really badly.
I think that he should refuse to stand because the police and the army are the people that are protecting us, and if we didn't have any police or army, then we wouldn't be safe and we wouldn't have freedom.
I can add on to Evan, like when he said they felt like that they were like he disrespected his country, I believe it was. In the text, it actually said many people were angry at that Colin Kaepernick would not stand for the anthem. And the anthem is technically like a flag for like the army and the police.
I agree because he's protesting about the national anthem, and technically he's protesting about America. After
like where he lives.
Yeah, like it's his own country, and so I don't think it's right for him to protest about his own country if he's protesting for the American flag.
Yeah, like because it's his own country and like his own like he technically he lives in the USA, so. The national anthem is technically important to the USA because it's like a sign like when we had the war, the flag was still there when. So.
The text specifically says that now they're going to be donating to charities that focus on racial issues. And it says that should have been, I think that should have been their first response, not going straight to protesting the Star Spangled Banner, because that's a big symbol of the country.
And then what I found is really weird is I read that as soon as I got to the second page, it said Chip Kelly is Kaepernick's coach. He's one of the people who support Kaepernick's right to protest. He said the quarterback's decision was his right to as a citizen. So I kind of agree with the coach, but I kind of disagree at the same time.
But
he should stand for the national anthem.
But people did this, and they did. It's their choice. They can do it. If they want to, knowing that they might get banned or they might get something taken away from them. And plus, it's not going to hurt anyone. You're still putting your hand over your heart.
But he was kneeling because he wanted to, but they're actually supposed to be standing, not kneeling, because kind of disrespect for the American flag, and it's his country, and I get it that you're protesting for the American other people, but doesn't mean the right that you should not you should still stand, because what does the American flag have to do with this right, the protest?
I feel like the protest it's actually gonna African Americans I think it's a sign of respect to the African Americans. But if they want to stand, they can. But if they want to kneel, I think it's perfectly okay, as long as they're putting their hand over their heart.
Yeah, and also he might change the way people, if they kneel or stand for the national anthem, and he was the only one who protested. He wasn't the only one. Professional boxer Muhammad, he did it against the Vietnam War. And also an African American runner, Tommy Smith, and John Carlos led a protest to the Summer Olympics in Mexico.
Kaepernick is one of the most famous athletes today, and if he uses protest and he doesn't, and they prove him wrong
he could lose his job and other things. And I respectfully disagree with Jaden that Americans that African Americans should stand in the national anthem always. I think they could kneel, but I think it should be about like really big things, like really important things.
If they got like hurt, they could like, but like if they're not hurt, they should, but they should still stand because they live and
We still protect them. Remember that we protect them too. The army and the police officers, they protect them. It's just that sometimes we hurt them. Yep.
I respectfully disagree with Brady because Colin Kaepernick was kneeling only because he was standing up for the African Americans, because the police were beating them, killing them, doing all this harmful stuff to them. And he's not, like, just like Taylor said, he's not the only one who did it, so he shouldn't get all the blame for protesting that. Yeah.
So those conversations, the literature discussion groups, are usually 10 minutes long. And I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed their thinking changed. And the little boy who started first, Brady, who had a very strong opinion at the end, changed his mind and said, well, it depends. If it's big things, it's okay if they stand up and protest. So like I said before, we're really teaching them how to be critical thinkers. I also wanted to mention that we had the opportunity to share this video with over 200 coaches across the PCL network with Linda Dorn and the University of Arkansas. And Sarah got feedback from many coaches. We got to share it and then hear feedback from them about next steps and what she could improve in her work. They were also very impressed with the whole process. And we found out about a week ago that Linda Dorn is writing an article in the ASCD journal and highlighting this video.
Wow.
The process in it, so.
Awesome.
Back up on the projector. And within that, since we're talking about writing?
You bet. So usually when we start a literature discussion group, they have a text set, so they get to choose from 3 different articles or texts. And so I give them a prompt to write to, so it's a question that they have to read in the text to find and then write so they can prepare for the discussion. And then I always confer with them before the discussion just to make sure they're comprehending the text, if they have any questions before the discussion. And then when we have the discussion, they can use those notes. And I always ask them to write down some quotations that they can share with the group. And then also after the discussion, I want them to reflect on what they just discussed. Because as Mary said, some students change their mind. So it's really powerful when they start with this opinion in their head, and this is my opinion and this is what I think, but then their thinking changes. And they like to kind of write about that and reflect, why did their thinking change? Did they notice something different in the text that they didn't notice before, or did somebody say something that sparked an idea that they hadn't had? And so I think that before and after writing is really powerful. It also helps me to understand if they're comprehending what they're reading. And so it's a great way for me to assess understanding.
So this leads to our next steps. I said that this morning we kind of professional development or professional learning plan, and those are intentionally meant to be things that we can adjust over time. If you remember the very first slide where we had 63% meeting our goal, 64%, those times were before we had the sales structure, and now between the second and third graphs, and hopefully that's a good framework that has you kind of go from data that you notice to reviewing your instructional practice to looking at teacher actions and then obviously improving student achievement. Before So we kind of learned this morning through some discussions that we've got to make sure that we have a knowledge that the tool we're using to assess is actually the rubric tool that has some more specific information as opposed to checklists that some people were using. Our non writing workshop teachers that Terry works with had kind of set a goal for themselves to do one project, and we realized, wait, a lot of them finished that already, so now we have to fire up again and make sure that they continue to incorporate that to support our school-wide learning goal. So while this looks like we've got a nice clean package all put together, it's very fluid, and we adjust things and we modify things based on the information we're finding as we progress throughout the year. That kind of sums up our connection to data and sales and everything. And we're elementary people, so this is late for us. Do you have any questions?
I do have a question. Liza and Veronica, right? Excuse me. You and I'm sorry, Sarah, your counterpart isn't here, correct? Because she's sick. So did you do the same thing where you swapped classrooms and just observed and did all the teachers do that, Jeff?
Yes, so I did the same thing. So Mary helped coach me, and so in the beginning she came in and did some observations, and then she modeled, and for me, I was focusing mainly on language workshop, and so she modeled some lessons for me, just to show me the structure, and then I was able to take over after that. So it was a very helpful process for me to see it live and then be able to do it, and then have that feedback all along the way as well.
Sarah actually team teaches, so her counterpart also is kind of getting model classroom training just by observing.
That must be, you have to model humility for the kids. I mean, to go in there and to be critiqued and to just be honest with each other for the betterment of them, that's huge. Had you had anyone that really didn't get along and then were put in that place and that helped? Or does everyone just love each other? Everybody just gets along.
I think oh, I'm sorry, you can go. I think the nice thing about the process is that when Mary comes in, it's like, I'm going to take you wherever you are and I'm going to move you forward. So it's not like, these are my expectations, you need to be doing all this. It's more like, let's see where you are, and now we're going to move you, just like we do with the students. And that was a great way for me. I felt so comfortable, and I was willing to take those next steps to do what I needed to do, because I didn't feel like I was being critiqued all the time and kind of graded. It was more like, I need to learn this, and I want to do it well, and that's how she helped me grow. So I feel like that was a very good learning experience.
I think it's been nice for Veronica and I, both being in second grade, that she is a language workshop model classroom and I'm writer's workshop. So I reap the benefits of Veronica and Mary working together, and then Veronica reaps the benefits of Mary and I working together. And Mary and I actually discussed how for our next coaching cycle that maybe we could all collaborate together so that we are talking about the integration of language workshop, reader's workshop, and writer's workshop. So, and being able to have all those pieces kind of come together, so it'd be a mega coaching cycle.
It's nice too. So she and I both teach literacy, so out of the 4 second grade teachers, we teach literacy, and then the other 2 are the math science.
Okay.
And with the way our pods are set up, I always have felt more open. Like, I'm used to people coming in and out, or sitting and watching for a little bit, or even just between us, like, I might hear how she's teaching a lesson that I might not have taught yet, so I'll be like, and then she came in just the other day to kind of do the same thing, and I think we're very comfortable with that, and we know it benefits not just us, but our students.
I think it's wonderful, too, that they share not just within our school, but being model classrooms, we have visitors from other schools that specifically set up appointments to come and observe. We also have math classrooms like that, too. So that is amazing, as well as the many integrated arts visitors that we get at some of you. Very open teachers. It's great.
Well, I've been in education a long, long time, and I'm extremely impressed with what you're doing. It's just kids have more opportunities and different opportunities than they ever had before, and you're getting them to write. They didn't used to be good writers. They would read, but they didn't write. Your principal can be very proud of you, and thank you for your leadership in making this happen in your school. It's phenomenal, just phenomenal what those kids are doing and what you teachers are doing. And Mary, are you there full-time?
50%.
Oh, 50%, wow. They keep you busy, don't they? Wow. Now, how did all this get started at your school? Was it suggested by your principal or by a specialist teacher? How do you think it got started? We're gonna do this, how did it get started?
I'll say that we looked at rigor.
Yes, of course, yes.
And also knowing that
Sure.
that we needed to take them to the next level as well.
Okay,
Informational writing, just like, you know, the adage of
sure,
better, you master that skill. The same belief with kids who can write, kids who can communicate through their writing, they have mastered a high level of brain development. And we took on a very rigorous informational writing.
oh, yes, right.
So knowing that we always want to challenge our students and take on tough roles is how we arrived at that. Not really realizing actually what growth we would have to go through, but so pleased with what is happening.
Absolutely. Mary, is this going on at the other school that you work at?
It is.
It
Yes,
is.
the
That's
other
one.
school we actually started 2 years ago as a CLM training site, so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Your parents have got to be very, very pleased with the level that you've brought these students to. I mean, it's just outstanding, outstanding. I wish I could say, is this going on in the entire district or just here? This is the special part about your school?
Well, I have to say, there's a couple people to my left on administration that guided us through the sale process, which really every school in the district is doing.
Yeah, that
Every
I know.
school's following, and we use that sale process to dig into data, to identify our problem, to set our PD plan, and that was all, that structure was all laid
Yes.
out for us.
Uh-huh.
And I have to say, in the 20-plus years I've been in this district, it feels extremely organized how we have that overall
is.
process set up for us.
It is.
We can just plug in our problem, our PD,
Sure,
our work.
sure.
So that's very helpful.
Checks in the mail.
Sure.
Oh, two things. Okay, so on that, where did you find sale, Jody?
Administrators Association. I have a collaboration with our, I sort of work for them. And so this is a school improvement instructional framework that is developed throughout the state of Wisconsin for school teams and district teams that want to sign up. So because I was a facilitator in that, I was able to bring that back to really a team of directors here in both student services and teaching and learning that really carries out the heavy lifting every day with our school principals to help them with the leadership work.
Okay,
You are right, though. It's very difficult. This is very, very hard work and very, very time-consuming. Absolutely right. And I thank you for your dedication and sticking with it and always looking to improve. What more could we ask for? Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Jensen, for all your leadership therein. Yes, more questions?
What was your good news that you got this morning? Or you can't
Was
share?
It was that last slide. I think you kind of sort of glossed over where that came from. We had kind of part 2 of an informational writing data delve this morning. So that last slide about what our next steps are came from that this morning, and that came from feedback that came directly from the teachers, that these were the next steps that they identified.
Great.
And we had a lot of steps. And then we went to our ILT meeting this afternoon and heard from Jody that we had to narrow it down to 2.
Yeah,
So now we
4:30,
have 2. We did that at 4:30.
Great, great.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations, job well done. And thank you for this. This is a beautiful representative of your school. Wonderful. Wow, he had some great things going on, my goodness. Looks like we have covered everything on our agenda for today. So if there's no further comments, questions, et cetera, we will adjourn. However, remember, our next meeting is Tuesday, January 3rd, right after the holidays at 6 o'clock here in the Lindholm Building. Meeting is adjourned.